Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, I want to take a little bit of a look. We need to take a little bit of a look at Dracozolt V and Dracozolt VMAX. I should mention, of course, that our translations come from the lovely Antoine Boulet, but honestly, by now, I'm thinking you may well have guessed that. There's another new VMAX to talk about. Am I as excited as I was about Tornadus VMAX? No, obviously. Come on. Hopefully you've watched that video. If you haven't, link in the description. Man, I'm excited about that card. And I'm still feeling guilty. Like, I'm recording this like 2 minutes after finishing recording that video, and I am already feeling guilty that I probably undersold how good I think it is and scored it too low. But that's on me, ladies and gentlemen. That's on me. So what have we got here then? Dracozolt V, well, we got 220 HP, which is on the higher end for a Pokemon V. That's quite nice. Retreat cost of 3, I'm not loving it. It's a bad retreat cost. And a weakness to fighting I don't particularly like, because first of all, we've got Pokemon like Eternatus that are making people want to play fighting. And second of all, we've got stuff like the new Urshifu that are all looking good, which are fighting. So I don't think fighting's a good weakness to have right now. My apologies. We are a lightning Pokemon, though. That means weakness on, Tornadus VMAX, if it's as good as I think it's going to be. But nothing huge after that, I'm afraid. I'm sorry. And it's kind of weird, right? Because at the moment, we've got Tapu Koko Prism Star, which is really good for accelerating a couple of energy. But this is going to be in Chilling Reign, and Chilling Reign is coming out on June the 18th. And our rotation is going to be end of August, beginning of September. So we are not going to have this and Tapu Koko V in the same format for very long at all, and that could end up being a little bit of a problem. So as much as lightning Pokemon have been great for the last few years, I do think it's dying down. We're still going to have Boltund V to accelerate energy, which is nice, but we're not going to have Pikachu and Zekrom anymore, which is not nice. So the first attack on Dracozolt V here, Rumble Beak. 1 lightning energy, 30 damage. During your opponent's next turn, your opponent can't attach energy from their hand to the defending Pokemon. And this is a kind of attack that on the face of it looks absolutely flat out stunning, phenomenal, brilliant, broken, crazy, nuts good. Well, okay, it's only 30 damage, but I basically sit here for the entire game, stopping my opponent being able to actually do anything, and they can't attach any energy, and if they can't attach any energy, they lose, and when it works, brilliant. The problem is it only stops you attaching to the active. So you can switch to the bench and attach, or you can just build up a bench Pokemon and bring it active later. It's not quite as good. Now, obviously, one option you've always got is your opponent tries building up a bench Pokemon, and you wait till they've got the energy on, and then your boss's orders and KO it. But then, of course, as soon as you boss's orders, your opponent can't attach energy to their active, not least because their active doesn't exist anymore, you KO'd it. But you end up in an awkward situation here where you got to time it perfectly. Now, there probably will be some games where you legitimately can, where you can actually sit there and stop them attaching to their active, so their opponent takes 3 or 4 turns attaching to the bench, and then you bring up their bench Pokemon and KO it, and it's going to be beautiful. But I am not convinced that that is going to happen very often. And I'm sorry about that. I think it's a really nice attack, and I think if you want to buy a bit of time in the early game, I'm in. If it's early game time buying you want, this is nice. If you want to take a turn or two where your opponent isn't able to attack, then that's a very, very different thing. I think this could absolutely stop your opponent attacking for a turn or two, giving you a bit of time to set up. But I don't think it's going to do a very good job of locking your opponent out of the game for any meaningful period of time. I think it's fun, and I think it's a really nice extra attack, but I don't think it's an attack around which you really want to build a deck. I think it's a nice little bonus. I think it will buy you some time. But your opponent can switch to the bench, they can attach to the bench and come active, they can essentially they can play around this fairly easily unless they've got a terrible hand. Now, if they've got a terrible hand and you just trap them there not able to attach energy, cool. But now you're relying on your opponent having a terrible hand, and it's not something you necessarily want to rely on for success now, do you? Although obviously what you can do here is play stuff like Crushing Hammer, Fan of Waves, etc., and try and take the energy off their bench. And if this works, so they're attaching to their bench, you're getting rid of the energy while stopping them attaching to their active, yes, but it's still... You're relying on an awful lot of things going your way for this to work. I love it on the face of it, but I think it's one of those attacks where when you start thinking about it, it's not looking ideal. Maybe, however, late game when you know your opponent's out of switching options, maybe it's a different deal. Second attack, 2 lightning, 1 colorless energy, 180 damage. Discard the top 3 cards from your deck. 180 for free energy is good. Discarding the top 3 cards of your deck? Less good, if I'm honest with you. I'm not necessarily loving this so much, but I suppose it's one of those, the attack is so good you don't mind discarding the cards. Is that true? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. You see, here's the thing, right? Pre-rotation, this doesn't get a look in. Because pre-rotation, we got Pikachu and Zekrom, that for free energy does 150 and accelerates free energy. That's better. We've got Raichu and Alolan Raichu, that for free energy does 160 plus paralysis. That is better, assuming you come active this turn. However, what about post-rotation? Well, you know what? Post-rotation, you've still got Tapu Koko V. And Tapu Koko V, for free energy, does 200, and it can't attack next turn, but it's got free retreat, and that's way better than discarding the top 3 cards of your deck. And it's got a nice attack that draws your cards as well, so... Even post-rotation, I look at this Dracozolt V and I go, like the first attack for a little bit of stalling, but I don't think it's going to work all that often, but it might really help me out in a jam. Second attack, no. If I want to put free energy on a 2-prize lightning Pokemon, I got better options. But what about the VMAX? Well, the VMAX, we have a little bit of a boost in HP. We go up to 330, which is pretty high. Average is about 320. Same bad retreat cost of 2. Same weakness 2 fighting, which we don't love. Same lightning typing. But now we've got single energy 60 damage. During your opponent's next turn, if this Pokemon is damaged by an attack, even if it's knocked out, put 12 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. Oh, well, this sounds really good. This sounds amazing. Here's the problem. We've actually had this in the format for a while with Galarian Stunfisk V. And I mean this exact attack. 60 damage. If this Pokemon is damaged by an attack next turn, even if it's knocked out, put 12 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. It is the same as trapping Bite from Galarian Stunfisk V. And how much play and success and love has Galarian Stunfisk V seen? Now, don't get me wrong, I play a whole bunch of PTCGO. I've played against this a bunch on PTCGO. And it's super annoying. Is it a great card? Has it been taking down these tournaments? No. Go look at a bunch of online tournaments. This has not been taking them down. And fine, this is for 1 energy rather than 2 colorless, but then again, this is on a 3-prize evolved Pokemon rather than a 2-prize basic, so I don't think that's much of a great counter-argument. And the problem is, I want to like this attack. It seems so good. I look at it and I go, well, hang on a second, 60 damage is fine, and bearing in mind, right, there are a bunch of little Pokemon around like Jirachi, Galarian, Zigzagoon, etc., that I can essentially KO with this attack, maybe needing a Vitality Band to do the extra 10 damage or something like that, or indeed a Galarian Zigzagoon of my own. And now all of a sudden, I'm in a really good position where I'm taking out these little prizes while forcing my opponent to put 12 damage counters on them to attack me. The problem is, Galarian Stunfisk V is already out. It is already doing this, and it is already seeing basically no play and success. So why would we expect this to? And as for the 12 damage, let's take something like, I don't know, let's go for Single Strike Urshifu VMAX. It's going to take 3 prizes, and then it's going to go from 330 HP to 210. Yeah, the single strike Dracozolt V VMAX player is not going to care. So we've got one more chance to love this attack. What have we got? Lightning, 3 colorless energy, 200 damage. Why? Why? We've already got Tapu Koko V that will do it for 3 energy. Now, there is a reason here, and the reason is triple acceleration energy. And if you're playing triple acceleration energy, that's why. Because now, for 1 lightning energy and a triple acceleration, I'm doing 200. This I like. So, pre-rotation, Tapu Koko Prism Star gets an energy, triple acceleration, boom, 200. Or maybe I turbo patch, and then I evolve, and then I do triple acceleration energy, 200. In this regard, I love it. But I'm still only doing 200. And like, 200 doesn't get all the Pokemon Vs. Sure, you'll get Crobat, but you're not getting Zacian. Zacian's surviving. Zacian's still there. A bunch of them are still there. In fact, the majority of them are still there. Something like an Eternatus V. You need to do extra damage to get a KO on an Eternatus V, because it's got 220 HP. Centiskorch V. You're still not even getting that, because that's got 210. I find a Vitality Band will do it, but now I'm asking for a lot more. And this is my problem with Dracozolt VMAX. I've just gone through all 4 attacks over both Pokemon, and the best I can find is the first attack on the V, which will maybe disrupt and buy you time, but that is far from guaranteed. And I see this as a problem. I don't really see why I wouldn't play Galarian Stunfisk if I wanted to trap them into taking 12 damage counters when they attack. And I don't see why I wouldn't play Tapu Koko V for either of the big attacks. Because even if you do want to use triple acceleration energy, remember, if there's a stadium card in play, Tornadus VMAX will do 240 for 4 colorless energy, rather than 200. And it's a single strike Pokemon, so I've got all of the extra ways to do more damage, like single strike energy, and I've got Houndoom to accelerate, so that 4th energy that I need in addition to the triple acceleration, yeah, not only will Houndoom get it on me, but now I'm not doing 240, I'm doing 260, and 260 is a whole bunch more than 200. So basically, I quite like the first attack, but its usefulness is going to massively vary depending on game conditions. It is not that reliable. If I want to use a second attack on the V, I'm better off with Tapu Koko. If I want to use the first attack on the V Max, I'm better off with Galarian Stunfisk. And if I want to use a second attack on the V Max, I'm better off with Tornadus V Max. Basically, everything that this does can be done better by a different Pokemon. I'm still giving it 3 Wassies, because I still think that first attack can have some utility. It's still got decent attacks, and even though I can point to all the attacks and go, well, this Pokemon does it better, this at least has a bunch of decent attacks. And it does a lot of damage, and it's got a decent amount of HP. You can make a decent rogue deck with Dracozolt. You can go to your local league and make a really fun deck, which is going to win a few games with Dracozolt. But if you're looking at a serious competitive Pokemon, I don't think this is going to cut it. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. Prove me wrong in the comment section. Go nuts. Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.